Hey, we are back for another Lunch and Learn. This is day number 7, Lunch and Learn experience for this Family Business Life 9-day transformation challenge. And I tell you, man, this has been exciting. It's been challenging, and not challenging in the sense of the negative sense where it's challenging in such a way that it's pressing against me and making me feel bad or making me feel uncomfortable in a way that's trying to destroy me. It's making me feel uncomfortable, but for the purpose of positioning me for transformation. See, when you seek challenge intentionally, there is a translation of exceptional value on the other side of it, because you're looking at it completely from the perspective that I seek to get value, right? And so we are in, again, as I said, day 7 of this 9-day transformation challenge. And we've been talking about the trilogy of transformation, which I'm going to get into in just a moment. But I want to absolutely appreciate our sponsor and partner in this 9-day transformation challenge, Awareness Elevation. Man, I just heard some news this morning that they've just booked some unique opportunities for speaking for the groups that they serve, and are looking to really impact in a unique way. And so, man, that's some awesome things to hear when, the momentum is really building. But they have some value that they're going to be wanting to offer you all. Especially for those people who join the community, there's going to be an opportunity to connect with some leadership experience on a monthly basis. So make sure you tap into the location where you can get on-demand experience. And that location is team3l.com//VI. No, that's wrong. team3l.com/9day-VIP. And that means that you're a very important person. You're a very important professional, and you have very important potential. And so we want you to actually get over there and get connected with that on-demand content, all from day 1 up to now. And hey, we're coming to a close in this experience, but I promise you this: we are not coming to a close in challenging people to position them for transformation. Now that we've appreciated and given some regard for Awareness Elevation, I want to get into this good old content. All right. And so, that we've been dealing with the trilogy of transformation, and that is the areas that focus on one, the problem, the cause of the problem of family life crashing and burning. Then that which eliminates the cause. And now we're going to be focusing on that which enables us to flow out of the beliefs that we have that are accurate and be able to access our family business life mastery, and to leverage the beliefs and to make exceptional and beneficial use of these keys. Now, let me remind you of what the 3 misleading beliefs are, the 3 accurate beliefs are, and then we can kind of move from there into the 3 master keys. Now, before I get into what the first master key is, we're going to talk about a unique subject. And I think this is a great subject to introduce, as it pertains to a pretty good segue from the accurate beliefs, misleading beliefs, into the master keys. So let me remind you of what those misleading beliefs were and those accurate beliefs were. The misleading beliefs, problem number one, believing that you can achieve work-life balance. It's absolutely impossible. It's not achievable. And we have talked about why it is. And you can go back to day 1, Lunch and Learn, to see that. Then the number 2 is believing you must choose one over the other, or believing one is more important than the other, meaning believing that family life and business life Out of the two, one is more important than the other. And the tendency is to make business life more important than family life. Number three is that we have the belief that there is no relationship between family life and business life. Man, there's some good stuff that we have been dealing with. Then there's the accurate beliefs. While you cannot achieve balance, you can achieve flow. So, first accurate belief is to believe that we can achieve flow. Believe that we must achieve flow between family life and business life. Then, accurate belief number two is believing that while one is not more important than the other, you believe that you should and must make fuel in one and the other and between both for the other. And it's really easy to do that once you've set the family life and business life construct in the context of a continuity perspective, that they are aligned and are able to flow in and out of one another. It's easy to make fuel between them. It's easy to make fuel individually and then be able to let it flow out. Why? Because there's another accurate belief that really sets you on a proper place of perspective. And that is this: that instead of believing that they have no relationship, you believe that they do have a relationship, and you create focus in that relationship that they are not independent, they are not dependent, but actually interdependent. For it'll bust up those misleading beliefs like nobody's business. But what must happen after you have first challenge yourself about what you believe and come to understand that you were in the vein and lane of misleading beliefs, but now you have experienced transformation in the awareness of the, I'm over just knocking everything over. Experience the awareness of the accurate beliefs that are able to position you to experience transformation just because of a newfound reconciled reality to what ought to be believed. What do you do next? Oh, you got to make use of it. Like, you got to start making use of it. You got to start walking into the doors and accessing the opportunities and experiences and realities, putting it into application. This is rubber meets the road time. And before we get to the three master keys, which are going to be absolutely phenomenal, let's talk about something. Now, as we get ready to talk about this something, and before we get into the master key number one, remember our subject. Our subject is predictably productive all the time. Once you get that in your mind, predictably productive all the time, predictably productive all the time, predictably productive all the time. I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis on the title as I did in the others, because I'm going to take it to a different level by this, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But I want you to get it in your mind. Predictably productive all the time. Predictably productive all the time. This is interesting in this sense as we get ready to transition to this little piece that I want to deal with. Now, if you were in the mastermind this morning, you might know what I'm getting ready to talk about. But this is one thing you need to know with regard to predictably productive all the time. Anything that is insane is not predictably productive all the time. It's predictable. It's predictably insane all the time, but it's not productive predictably. See, when you have the misleading beliefs leading, you cannot operate within the context of the accurate beliefs, and therefore you're operating in the vein and lane of insanity. And as a result, you find yourself in a position to where there is some predictability, but it's not productive. It's not producing in value and bringing forth more of the likeness of what is good. Now, you can say it's predictably productive for the standpoint of that which is not productive. or predictably productive in producing that which is not beneficial. You can look at it that way, but that's really not the thought process. The truth about predictable production is that it's opposed to predictable insanity. So we want to deal with that which is predictably productive all the time. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But let me talk about this thing right here called communication. Communication. Why do I want to talk about communication? You see, at the heart of what it is we have done over the last 7 days up to this point is we have dealt with communication, high level communication. We have dealt with intentional questions, intentional perspective. We've dealt with challenging using words for the benefit of our progressive perspective in regard to family life and business life, operating as they were meant to, as what? Teammates and not opponents. As I was talking with Randy this morning in our mastermind, oh my goodness, he really was dropping some gems and gold bars, value bombs. I mean, they were awesome. He really put some things together in a very structured manner. One of the things he said was balance is exhausting. I loved that. Balance is exhausting. That's a part of why it's insanity. It's exhausting. See, the reason balance is exhausting is because trying to achieve it is impossible. You will never achieve it. And all it's going to do is make you tired. It's going to take your energy because it's not replenishing your energy because you're not making productive progress. It's not predictably productive, especially for family life and business life. And the reason it's not, I said this to Randy, I said, it's so important to understand that one of the main reasons we cannot and never can put equal amounts of time, energy, and effort into business life and family life is because business life needs more time than family life. Family life as a covenant oriented relationship and reality does not need the same amount of time because there's intellectual capacity there that can position the people who are in the family to experience exceptional benefit. But in the family, but in the business life, there is a difference because the business life does not have intellectual capacity. It needs intellectual capacity oriented people to be in it in order for there to be some type of value. So you need more time, energy, effort put into business, and it will never, never be able to equal. Now, that's interesting. That's what makes it exhausting because you're trying to balance. It's just never going to be possible because you can't put equal amounts in order for there to be equilibrium. But that's interesting because there needs to be a communicative awareness that operates between family life and business life, especially for them to be aligned appropriately and make sure that they achieve flow, to make sure that they are in the position to where there is the reality of making fuel. And see, it's not exhausting because when you make fuel, it fuels and continues to fuel and continues to replenish, it reciprocates and do all those types of things. But then there's the other side of this. The interdependence actually causes there to be an excitement and appreciation of the value that exists between family life and business life, which means they're actually talking to each other. They're communicating. Randy said this. I really must be excited to connect with Larry. Y'all be ready for 1:30 because me and Larry gonna have a wonderful conversation. Central theme of communication. How well do we understand and do we listen effectively? See, when we establish understanding, let me explain understanding for a moment. Understanding is really a combination of two words, stand under, meaning it's kind of like an umbrella. Do you stand under something? So when we seek understanding, especially of those whom we are communicating with, it's very important that as we communicate with the perspective that what that person is under, I want to stand under it with them. Not that I have a standing under of my own. So it's kind of like this. If you have an umbrella and they have an umbrella, what I need to do is I need to maybe even use my umbrella to come close to where you are. But by the time I get to you, I can't try to use my umbrella and your umbrella at the same time. If I'm going to stand under that which you stand under, I must put my umbrella down. Now I don't have to get rid of it. I just need to let it down so I can make myself accommodating to be able to stand under your umbrella and not dismiss the presence of that which you stand under. That's the power of communication, that it's asking, how well are you standing under that which I am standing under? Oh my goodness, this is good. And then listening more effectively. See, when family life and business life are on the continuity structure and they achieve flow and they make fuel and they create focus within the context of their dynamic and very unique relationships, what happens is they're communicating with each other. They're standing under that which each other is able to be appreciated and valued for. This is good. I don't know if it's good to you, but it's sure good to Leo. Watch this. He also says some things like, in the context of understanding, there is the benefit and necessity to listen with the intent respond. I'm sorry. There's the understanding that listening with the intent to respond is not understanding. Waiting for my time to shine and speak is not understanding. This right here is consistent with misleading beliefs. This is consistent with making one more important than the other. Not possible. It creates havoc, frustration. Then here's the thing: not seeking understanding is rooted in one being wrapped up in themselves. That sounds like something James Powell talked about on day one, which is we got to let go of the ego. Let E go. Yeah. And then he even talked about the world does not need more billboard communicators, meaning those who are communicating without the focus of connecting. Because before you can correct, there must be connect. Before you can communicate, there must be connect. And then I mentioned, he and I had participated in a speaking competition called the Great American Speak Off. And there was a powerful lesson that I learned. Watch this. There's a difference in speaking to be heard and in speaking to provide benefit. There's a difference in speaking to communicate and speaking to connect. There's a difference in speaking to impress and in speaking to impact. Here's what's interesting. Only when we speak to provide benefit, to connect, and to impact is it certain that we can be heard, we can communicate, and we can impress. See, let me use this real quick. Being heard is important, but it's not most important. Actually, it's least important, but it's also important. So there's a need to make sure it's in the place that it needs to be in. Same thing with communicating. Communicating is very important. Impressing is very important. People need to like you. We do business with the people we know, like, and trust, you see. But when it comes down to it, if we do not have the focus, the commitment, the understanding of benefit, if we don't stand under benefit, if we don't stand under connect, if we don't stand under impact, then we have no ability to see the benefit or value of being heard, communicating, or impressing, which means what? With these, just like with family life and business life, we need to make sure that they're in a position to flow, to make fuel, and to have focus that is created between them. Why am I saying all of this? One of the main reasons that family life crashes and burns while business life is thriving and vibing is because there is a disconnect and a restriction in between the most pivotal dynamic in all relationships: communication. Let me share this with you. God is very interesting. Some people will say God is weird. That's fine. He's okay with that. In Genesis, we're told about a circumstance at a place called the Tower of Babel. And in this place, there was this work going on where everybody was together, man. I mean, they were getting it going. They were unified in their imagination. They were unified in their communication. They were unified in their unification. They were unified in their implementation. And man, God came down and looked at this and said, these people, they're going to achieve. They are going to achieve what they have set their hearts to achieve simply because they are of one mind and they are of excellent communication. They are working together, and these people, they are on point. He said, listen, we can't let them do this. Don't focus on that part. Focus on this part. He said, what they're doing is not advantageous to them. And so we don't want to render them ineffective totally, but with regard to this work, this is not going to be productive or valuable for them. So he confused their language. Y'all, as we get into these master keys, it's so important that you understand how pivotal communication is for the only reason we got to where we are with regard to even now moving in the direction and the level of these master keys is we had to use communication to deal with what we thought, what we believe, and what's misleading versus what's accurate, in order to position ourselves to be on the trajectory of that which is most valuable between family life and business life. Oh, yeah, it's about to be good. Communication is the key. See, communication is the key between people. Communication is first and foremost the key between family life and business life, which is why it is important that they are set on a continuity structure, that they are put in the position to actually achieve flow. You must believe that they must achieve flow, and you must believe that they can achieve flow. That's communication. That's understanding. That's unification in the context of that communication. So important. So let's look at something. Let's look at what this master key number one is. What is the first master key? What's the first key we need to access? What's the first key we need to master? What's the first master key we need to have and to hold to in order to experience value? It is treasure. I talked about this on the Present Professional podcast, and on that podcast, one of the things that was asked me was, what do I treasure? Which I'm going to talk about that. You'll know what I'm talking about when I get to it. But one of the questions that I was asked in regard to treasure was, okay, so when you talk about treasure, like, flesh that out for me, you know before. And this was actually in the conversation before the podcast recording, and it was like, flesh this out for me so that I can make sense of it and have an understanding of really what this means, what how this corresponds, why this is even a key, and how it's of value, why it's of value. Well, the reason that it is a key is because it sets the tone for, one, all the other keys, but positioning us with a very unique strategy and power. Okay. But here's the thought process that was had of one of the hosts. He said, when I think about treasure, I think about a possession, something that you have. And, as such, it is something that you do treasure. And I said, that's great. But what we've got to understand is it's deeper than just a possession. You see, a possession from the standpoint of a treasure, it can actually be the case, but it being a treasure is not based on it as a possession. It is based on it as it pertains to what value exists in that possession. That's actually a communication thing. Value is not based on what something is, value is based on what something is represented by. Mm. Y'all, Leo getting excited over here. Possession. See, we can look at something that we treasure as something that we possess, but it's not about a material possession. And that's really what this is speaking. It's not about a material possession that makes treasure what it is. You know, there's a passage of scripture that says, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Now, I like that because I like to then use this little analogy or this little perspective. It's like this. So, uh, treasure is to money as the heart is to the bank account. All right, I'm gonna say it again. Treasure is to money as the heart is to the bank account. Okay, so let's talk about this. What is the bank account to the money? Well, the bank account is a storage place. It's a safe storage. It's a safe keeping place. It's a place that has guard around it. It's a place that you can place monetary substance in it, and it's also a place where you can go and draw that monetary substance out. And then based on what's in that account will determine not only what you can draw out, but it also will determine what you can actually access with what's in the account. If I want to go buy a Ferrari cash, like cash money, if you want to do that. Well, I need something in my bank account that's equivalent to what that Ferrari would allow me to do. If I go and, go to my bank account and try to draw out hundreds of thousands of dollars or write a check for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I've only been putting pennies in the bank account. Um, you do have a bank account and you do have some money, but it's just not enough for the Ferrari. See, that's kind of like the misleading beliefs. Yes. See, the misleading beliefs in your heart position you to go and try to achieve mastery in family life and business life and not be able to achieve it because the misbeliefs are positioning you to be in a place of insanity. So you're trying to get this very magnificent reality, but you can't access it because what's on the inside of your heart is not adequate for what it is you're trying to access on the outside. So when it comes to the heart, as it pertains to for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. It is saying the thing you treasure, for example, and like the money, the thing you treasure, it's in your heart. And like we use money in the context of a bank account is the same way you have to use your treasure. So the question has to be, what is it that you treasure? Well, and not just what is it that you treasure, what should be your treasure? Let me tell you, you see it on the screen. Your treasure should be principle. But let me give you a little story real quick. I was participating. I might have even talked about this once before. There was a real estate investment training that I participated in some years ago, and I think I talked about in one of the lunch and learns this particular trainer of mine. He was talking about, one of the things he said that was very pivotal was, be okay with people making money off of you for the rest of your life. And I thought that was a very powerful perspective. I mean, very powerful perspective. Well, the reason I bring that up is because at the end of the training, I went up to him and I asked him this question. I said, if there was one thing you could tell me as a successful investor, as someone who has, really made a major difference in a lot of respects and, helping a lot of people, so on and so forth, like, what's the one thing that I should focus on and that I should do in order to be successful as an investor, as a business owner, as somebody who's making a difference? He said something to me, and I love this now because, as an influencer and trader and coach myself, I know I'm going to say something that somebody is just not expecting. And most of the time, when people ask us questions, they want something profound. They want something that's going to be valuable, but generally, they don't know that it's going to be what you tell them. I like that. So he responds back and he says, well, the one thing I always tell people is to live by principle. And he explained, he said, you got to understand when I thought he was going to say something maybe more monetary standpoint, maybe legally logistical or, something along those lines. He didn't say that. He said, live by principle. He said, no matter what happens in the context of anything you pursue, if you have principles that are the foundation and the substance, the context of everything that you are pursuing and doing, you will always be able to make sure you know where you're going, you'll find your way, and pretty much nothing to keep you from doing what it is you seek to achieve because you're founded on the basis of principle. I was like, ooh, this is good. So good. See, here's what you got to understand about principle. Principle is on the basis of that which is accurate. Principle is that which is designed to make you to experience prince-oriented experiences and situation. Principle is that which can allow you to deal with challenge and be in the place where you seek to be transformed. Principle is that which will guide you beneficially no matter what, which is why this right here is so important. Predictable. Principles are predictably productive all the time. Yeah. I was even asked the question, Leo, so what is it that you treasure? I treasure that which is predictably productive all the time. I treasure principle. So the question is, as it pertains to achieving family business life mastery, and the first master key being treasure, what it means is you need to access the treasure that will help you to be predictably productive all the time. You need, what is it that's going to help you to achieve mastery between family life and business life? To achieve family business life mastery, it is you have to have the treasures of principle in your heart. What's your heart? Your subconscious. You have to have in the thought storage of your being where you go and draw for the context of achieving mastery in family life and business life. You have to have in your heart, in your thought storage, principles. And this is why it was so important to deal with the misleading beliefs and the accurate beliefs. Because if you don't deal with the misleading beliefs and then debunk them and destroy them by the accurate beliefs, how can you know if you have in your thought storage the appropriate treasure that will help you to access and leverage the mastery of family life and business life? You can't. You're insane. You don't know what to assess. You don't know how to assess. You don't know why to assess. You don't know when to assess. You don't know anything that is going to be predictably productive all the time. Hey, I'm just saying. You see, the treasure principle. See, you can put information in your subconscious. You can put information in your heart and it can produce for you, but it may not be valuably. And that's where a lot of people are in the situation of having the problem frustration of family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing. And now you can understand why it is an illusion that business life is thriving and vibing, because it's only a matter of time as a result of the fact that the true place that our value starts is in our private. For our private is what shows up in public. See, I was talking yesterday about the reality of below ground and above ground. See, just because you see the tree and you see the leaves and the branches and the fruit, that doesn't mean there's nothing below the surface that you don't see. As a matter of fact, it actually means there is something below the surface that you don't see. Family life does not have to be visible, does not have to be seen. Oh my goodness. Family life doesn't have to have all of the exposure. As a matter of fact, it's going to have less exposure, if not exposure at all. And the business life is going to have majority of the exposure. Just look at it from the perspective of the tree. You're going to see the branches, the trunk, and the tree as it stands tall, the leaves and the fruit. And unless the tree has roots coming out of the ground, you still can't even see all the roots. It's important that you make sure there's an appropriate alignment between family life and business life, and the perspectives that you have about family life and business life. There has to be a treasuring reality about them. If you want to eliminate family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing, you need to treasure principles. Principles that are predictably productive all the time. And again, it starts with challenge. Challenge what you believe. Challenge what you think. Put yourself in the environment for there to be this sense of, like, I want this to tell me what is, so I can know what is to be. And based on what is to be, I want to go with that so I can experience the transformative reality and experience connected with what is to be. Be willing to deal with that process. Treasure that process. Treasure the processes that get you to the principles. Treasure challenge. Treasure transformation. Treasure. See, when it comes to our bank accounts, we treasure all of the things that position us to be able to access the funds, but also the details related to the account, the accessibility of it, how quickly we can get it, the frequency of access, how safe is it, all those different things. Those things are value to us. Why? Because we treasure our money and we treasure our bank account. Well, where your treasure is, meaning there will your heart be also. So that really gives the perspective that, hey, my heart holds my treasure. That's the place where my treasure is. But the question has to be, what is it that you treasure? That's the question that they asked me on the Present Professional podcast. So I have to ask you the question, what do you treasure? Now, let's ask it in a context. If you are experiencing family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing, what do you treasure? What do you treasure? Or maybe you're not experiencing family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing. What do you treasure? Because here's the truth. Whether you're experiencing this problem or not, whatever you treasure will determine what you can draw out of that treasure, the treasure of your heart, what you can draw out in order to deal with any type of problems, issues, circumstances, if crashing and burning starts, or while crashing and burning is happening, to determine if you can address that issue and overcome it in a transformational way. Let me ask this question. We've been talking about this since before the transformation challenge. We're going to talk about it even after. We've got to make sure that there is a reality. Listen to me carefully. There is a reality that we've got to challenge the principles that we have and determine if they are adequate, accurate treasures for what it is we're trying to achieve. Otherwise, if they're not adequate or accurate, they are misleading for what we are trying to achieve. And here's one. Family life and business life are meant to be teammates, not opponents. Family life and business life are meant to be teammates, not opponents. That is a principle that is predictably productive all the time. That is a principle that is predictably productive all the time. And that predictably productive perspective principle is a treasure. And I have the authority to take that treasure and put it in my subconscious, put it in my heart, so that every value, every benefit that might be accessed with that principle, I can go to the storage of my heart. I can go to my central and most guarded thought storage, and I can pull that principle out and apply that principle to what it is I seek to achieve and access and benefit. That's the power of that key treasure. You hear me now? That's the power of that key. And see, in order to know what it is that you treasure, it's so important that you ensure that you're challenging yourself to see if what it is that is in. See, let me ask you this question. How many of us don't go look at our bank accounts? I'm talking about you can have millions. You can have hundreds of thousands or a little bit. We are going to look at our bank accounts and see what's in there. Even if we have a budget, we're going to assess how things are flowing out, how things are coming in, how things are, timing of those aspects. Why? Because we treasure our money and we also treasure our account. And so because of what it allows us to do, we're going to continuously assess what's there so we can know what we can do when we desire to do it. It's the same thing with our subconscious as it pertains to the very context of the beliefs and principles related to family life and business life. You have got to have the right treasure in your heart, and that treasure is principles. I'm going to get out of here, but I just want to get it started for you. See, you got to communicate the right things to your own thought storage. You got to make sure there's not misleading communication in your thought storage. That's why you debunk misleading beliefs and destroy misleading beliefs with those accurate beliefs, especially related to family life and business life. And when you do that, you can really not only see what you treasure, but you can make sure that the treasure is adequate to what you want it to be, which means you can see family life and business life be adequate to what you want it to be. And that's what's important. That's master key number 1, treasure. And not only treasure, make sure that you have the right treasure in your thought storage, in your heart. And that treasure must be the principles that are predictably productive all the time. I got to get out of here and go and get ready for the 1:30 session, the VIP Q&A experience with Larry Rollison. I'm so excited about it. So, hey, listen, enjoy this. If you're on demand, make sure you see everything else that was before and all that good stuff. But get ready to join us if you are on demand in the next recording. And if you're live, go ahead and jump over with us so you can have an exceptional experience. Y'all take care. You hear me now?